Alright, what is poppin', people? We're back. And I heard the cries. I heard them! I saw the comments. They said, Rabia, where's the cap? I need more cap games in my life. And I'll keep it a buck with y'all. This cap Premier League, I've done my best not to play. I've done my best not to play a single game if I don't have to. I'm trying. Here's my thing, right? With tournaments, if I'm not motivated to, like, play well, if I'm not really feeling myself, right, then I just don't do well. I am my mental is definitely, like, more important, I think, for me than a lot of other people. And I've noticed that as I've, like, looked through my, like, tournament games where I'm like, okay, what are the games I'm losing? What's happening? And a lot of times it's just because I go into it with such a terrible mindset, or just, like, I'm not maybe in the best of places. But when I'm feeling real good, oh, it's over. Easy clap. And look, I'll be honest as well with this game. I didn't even know I had to play it. I knew I was scheduled to play it at the time I was scheduled to play it. The problem was that I thought that the team we were facing was already eliminated from playoffs, and I thought that my team had already secured the exact playoff spot. So I was ready to just let it dead game. But apparently the other team actually could still have made playoffs if there was, like, if another team lost their last game. They could have forced a tie and gone into a tiebreaker thing. Anyhow, the TLDR is that to uphold tournament integrity, smiley face, I'd actually play this out. And I was looking at my teams and I was like, you know what I haven't brought in a while and what probably won't ever be prepared for at this point for me at all? Just some boring dual screens hyper offense. And I actually got this from Jordy, who was on the other team. Which was pretty great. I looked at it and I was like, I saw the team and I was like, do I think there's any chance that they'll just know this team when I bring it? And I said, it doesn't matter if they do, it's dual screens. Also, is this too loud? I feel like it might be a little loud. Yeah, nah, that's fine. Shout out to GlitchX City for the music. Appreciate you. But as I'm looking at the preview, right, his team is kind of annoying, right? Mostly because the Argonaut. I am a 5 physical sweepers team. And there's another Weremon that says, no, you don't get to sweep. And then in general, my opponent's just got a team that can kind of handle those sweepers elsewhere as well. The Clef is, like, an okay answer, I guess, to Zera Aura at, like, only +1. I don't know, he's got, like, the Hippo, though, for Zera Aura and Scizor. The Corviknight can, like, take it. Well, I think it's I don't actually know. Does Corviknight take a +2 CC from Life Orb Haxorus? Regardless, here was what the plan was. Corviknight, not too big of a problem at the end of the day. It can't really do anything to Commodore if I set up. Hippo literally is set up fodder unless it's Body Press or Whirlwind. Commodore's really good. The only problem with this game is how do I get through Argonaut? And the nice thing, again, this team is very well constructed. You are trying to just overwhelm physical walls. And what other thing should sweep by the end? You know, special wall ain't stopping any of these, so let's get into it. So my team is no hazards lead. I've got SD sub Lando with Salicberry. And so the best play is to always just lead Grimmsnarl. I know he's gonna knock here, so I actually go for a little bit of chip. Because I think if I get chip off, it's just better in the long run. Scizor is Psycho Cut, so maybe that somehow lets it crit range. I don't know. But it's mostly about just trying to push this into Commodore range, right? Commodore's Acrobatics, after getting rid of its item, is doing like 51 min, 60 max. So any amount of chip to get it closer to that threshold is really good. So I'm going to just let it knock me, and then I'm going to set up a screen on the next turn. Actually, I'm going to taunt because I don't want that thing recovering. I just played this game, I already forget. But in here, again, Clef is a mon that I look at and I go, maybe I could take one hit from one of my sweepers. So because I don't need Grimmsnarl really to do much defensively this game, I don't respect the Hydreigon at all. I'm going to make that clear. I'm okay with letting him get a little bit of damage here on it if it means that I can slowly chip away at his Clefable. And you're going to see my Grimmsnarl get taken out of half. It doesn't really matter in my eyes. Again, I'm just looking for chip. And I figured he'd probably switch out on that turn, so we'd opt for the Reflect. And because I know Corviknight probably doesn't have any move to hit me with, I'm actually just going to drum up. He's going to draw an Argonaut here. But again, the logic is I've got like Lando on this team, right? I've got Scizor. If Commodore's the one that has to wall break, then so be it. And he's gonna circle throw me, but little thing we need to keep in mind for the rest of the game. My Commodore, 52%. That's important, that's important. And yeah, I know Corviknight's coming out. I'm Swords Dancing here. Psych, I Earthquake, because I don't want the Argonaut to be able to recover. My bad, guys. But I Swords Dance on this turn. Now, I should have SD'd again. But I sub because I felt like he might U-turn. I don't know why. He really doesn't U-turn into anything. It's probably Spadef Hippowdon. But I do sub down again just to get the Salak Berry. Lets me outspeed Hydreigon for sure, if that ever were to be necessary. And then I just throw off the Stone Edge, and we chunk the Corviknight out. So, the team is working. The team is working. We're getting the chip we need. I go Zeraora here because I want to try to force the Hippo in. Because, like we said, Commodore is still at over 50. And I know he's rocking there. If that Hippo is not Body Press, I set up. And guess what? He switched. You ever see a Commodore set up twice in one game? Yeah, by the way, I thought there was a chance this was Scarf, but it wasn't. Look, man. It don't matter if I BP that. And Commodore just goes in from there. He has... Once I got Argonaut low, there wasn't anything he could do. I mean, Argonaut is his way of beating Commodore, and he gave me, like, a damage trade with it really early. He gave me Acro Chip really early, and he just... He had one bond that allowed me to set back up at any amount of health. Well, any amount of health above 50%. This is a really quick game. And so, I do want to actually give a little bit more of a talk at the end, because I do think that there's maybe a little bit more that we should mention in the context of Cap and Commodore. Because Commodore is a mod that I think, especially if you're new to Cap, or if you're someone that frequents the Cap ladder, a lot of people complain about this mod and call it broken, because it's a Steel Flying that has Volt Absorb and Priority Bullet Punch with Belly Drum. That's a lot of positives going for a setup sweeper in a tier where Hyper Offense certainly is possible. And when you think about defensive answers to counterplay, defensive answers to Commodore, you know, there aren't a lot, especially at boost, after a boost, right? So Zapdos, if it has Heat Wave, yeah, you can tank any move. The problem is that if Commodore Drain Punches you, and you don't fish static off of Drain Punch or the following Acro, Heat Wave, you can EV to avoid the KO, so that's fun. And you got, like, what else is there? I'm trying to think, like, actual defensive just stops. I mean, there's things like maybe Skarmory if it's Whirlwind. You can, like, get phased out by that. Unaware Mons, those are going to be pretty common as well as means to stop it. So you saw, like, Argonaut was able to Circle Throw me in this game. It just didn't matter because I had another turn to set up. But generally, that's a pretty acceptable way of dealing with Commodore. You even will see Unaware Clef beat Commodore down because Bullet Punch just isn't doing enough. So you do slowly get taken out by Moonblast. And then if you want to talk about maybe like fringe checks, Aegislash is a pretty good answer if they're not knockoff, and a lot of them aren't. Cyclone, another Cap Pokemon, it can take on Commodore pretty well. But I'd say the main thing that you end up having to handle it with is offensive counterplay. Just trying to keep up offensive pressure against it so that Commodore just does not get that chance to set up. Because Commodore's bulk, especially on the special side especially, is quite lacking. It's like, I don't remember what exactly it is. It's like base, I don't know, 55 maybe? But it's bad. And so you got a lot of fast mons like Dragapult and Tornadus T that can even take a +6 Bullet Punch from full, and then Revenge Coat Commodore after the fact. Dragapult, of course, being the particularly big problem there because of Infiltrator, so you just, you know, sit on the most common team that you'd see a Commodore on. I have seen a Commodore on Rain before, but that's definitely not the standard. You pretty much always want to pair it with dual screen support, otherwise it's just a lot harder to safely set up with it. You know, it's a belly drum mon. But a lot of it's just trying to keep up offensive pressure. Commodore can't set up in the face of a lot of things, right? So if you're able to like offensively play around it, then yeah, it's not going to do much. Because it's going to try to belly drum up, and it might take a hit beforehand and then just not be able to drum after. Or it's going to be too low and maybe not be able to clean with bullet punch reliably, depending on circumstances. I do think it's interesting. This Cat PL has had a lot of games where Commodore, like, went absolutely ham and just cleaned up a team. And, you know, it's obviously drummed up conversation about whether or not Commodore is broken or not. I think the problem with a lot of these games, though, has been if you actually look at how they were played, you can see that whoever was up against the Commodore didn't really do themselves any favors, right? And sometimes it wasn't even a matter of building. It was just a matter of, like, a certain sequence of plays they'd make right before the Commodore went for the sweep, where I'm just, like, looking at it and going, well, I can see why you'd think Commodore's broken if you sack off your Mon's health that otherwise, you know, takes the hit, takes Commodore out the next turn, you know, I can see that. Oh, you gave your opponent literally just a free turn to set up with Commodore when you didn't need to? Interesting. Oh, your Zera Aura, you went for Plasma Fists versus the Commodore? When you could hover over it like this and see that it does indeed get Volt Absorb as an ability and you would never run these other two? So I don't know. I do think a lot of the anti-Commodore talk just comes down to people not really recognizing certain misplays, or even wanting to acknowledge things as, like, counterplay. And you'll see that in every tier, right? People will try to downplay talk of counterplay to certain offensive threats a whole bunch, or just threats in general. It'll be like, oh, but you have to be, you know, full health and hit this move. It's like, well, who cares? It's not a tall task to say, you need to keep this Pokemon at full to check another Mon. Good luck, have fun. I mean, especially when it's talking about us, like, just super, just hyper offensive, he does nothing but, you know, look for a turn to sweep Mon like Commodore. This ain't something that you're gonna be trying to check throughout the whole game. This is something that you're just trying to let, like, keep it just around for when that Mon comes out late game. You know, maybe compare it to, if I think of another just really strong offensive Pokemon like Dragapult, right? Pult's a Mon that you're going to see get used at every point of the game. It's a really good Mon to break early mid-game, and it pivots, of course, a lot too. Help capitalize against certain Pokemon that do defensively answer it rather well. And in late game, it's a pretty good cleaner, because it's strong enough to threaten weakened Pokemon with KOs, with Shadow Ball, and it's just really fast. Not a whole lot threatens that speed tier. Commodore isn't a case like that, though. It does one thing. It sets up. You know, it's not a Mon that you can really do anything with in other stages of the game because you risk too much with it. You don't want to let... You know, it's like, think about any other Belly Drum Super, right? Like, you just can't afford to give it your opponent chip on it. Even if it... Like, even trying to pivot in and revenge kill things a priority isn't worth it. Because if rocks are up, I'm not letting my Commodore take an extra switch in with rocks just to revenge kill something with Bullet Punch. I'm not doing it. Unless I have literally no other play that I can make, it's just a bad decision. Anyhow, that's my spiel on Commodore. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, the battle was pretty short, but I do think that I think it was a good segue into just some talk about Commodore. Because it's one of the most polarizing presences in all of Cap. Obviously, I think it's for a pretty obvious reason. There have been talks about, you know, nerfing Commodore before. And whenever they come up, my answer is always like, I mean, yeah, sure, I wouldn't care if it got nerfed because it'd just be one less sweeper I'd have to consider while building, but does it really need to be, or should people just, you know, good old talk of learn to play? Maybe people should do that. Anyhow, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm gonna be trying a certain kind of video in the next couple of days. Mention at the end of the stream. I needed to get some extra information for the video, though, first, before I could feel good about putting it out. I think it should be interesting. So I hope you guys enjoy that when it comes out. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll catch you later. Peace.